Hey there, folks. So, last episode we finished off with some issues where the weapon we were spawning wasn't actually being attached to the correct socket on the player. And I actually figured that out. If anyone who looked at my little comments, that I throw into the videos, it's because I'm using the wrong attached to. So, I went through, figured everything out, fixed up the issue with the get transform offset and stuff as well, but this is what we had at the end of last episode. We were using attached to actor, and that was the issue. We actually need to use attached to component. So in here you can see I fixed that up, got rid of the custom rule we were creating. We didn't need that. So it's the item attached to component, and then we want to use get mesh because that returns the skeletal mesh, and that's the component that we want to attach to. The reason why I didn't initially think of this one is if I go alright, and IntelliSense isn't wanting to work yet, it was saying a scene component, and I didn't remember or realize, I should say, that skeletal mesh does eventually derive from a scene component. So I might not even be that. It could be an override thinking about it. But yeah, so you can see here now it's working. Use scene component, parent, transform rules, and the socket name. So that was the issue, is I was using attached to actor instead of attached to component. So we're going to fix that down here. Grab to there, copy that, attach to, and I did include the comma. Okay, so that fixes this one here. We don't need this transform rule. And then you'll see the other one is set actor relative transform, the item get mesh offset. Now what I did here, just because I ultimately decided I didn't want to have to expose the U weapon item base information to the character. As you can see, I've got this commented out. I decided what I was going to do is actually put a helper function on the equip item, because if we follow through the code quickly, you can see we've got this is our clear it out, our unequipped logic. Then we spawn it in, we check if it's valid, and we're passing in this information, and it's being stored in this equipped item. So I just decided, well, let's just make a function for that, which is literally it's just a pass-through helper function. But if we go to the definition, you can just see here it's item data, and this is where I was also screwing up. I was treating that as a pointer when it shouldn't have been. A T subclass isn't a pointer. So that was part of my problem last episode as well. But actually I'm just going to undo that so it doesn't register as I made a change. So in there, we just need to add this in onto the left-hand item. So left-hand item, set actor relative transform, left hand item get mesh offset. Now I did, however, notice there is one issue with this. This is mirrored. So there's a couple of different ways you can go about fixing this. You could go through and just do like a times -1. So something like that. Obviously this isn't going to work directly because we're using a transform. If you want to do that, you need to do that with your location information. So actually I'll show you how to do that properly. I'm not going to do it just off the cuff. So what that would be left hand item set actor relative location, left hand item get mesh offset location times by -1, and that's going to invert everything. Now the problem with just inverting everything is it may not work right. Say for example you've got some fancy weapon with a curved handle that it's curved one way for, like in one part it's got a curve that would work for the right hand, and in a different place it's got a curve for the left hand. So just completely flipping the offset might not work. So what you could do there, and I've got to decide exactly how I want to do that, because if I'm using a left hand, right hand, I don't know if I want to use a transform for both. The other thing you could do there is, let's go back to, I believe that's weapon item base we have that in. F transform, yeah, mesh offset. You've got that there. So the other thing you could do, and this is what I'm going to do for now, F vector left hand location, left hand offset location. And then we're going to add in another U function for that down in the public area for getting that. So F vector get left hand offset. And I just realized my offset up here is spelt wrong. That might have also been part of my problem. Const return left hand offset location. So get mesh offsets, we're going to fix this up, and then we added that in here, get mesh offset. We're going to add another U function in here for that. Why am I typing that out? Because we already have that in there. So it's F vector get left hand location, no, left hand offset, I'll just call it that, and that's going to be another const as well. And there's going to be a build error in, well, an error in the get mesh offset because we just changed that, but we're going to fix that while we do this. Return, copy that, backspace once so we can get our IntelliSense, get left hand offset. All right, so what you can do there, now that we've got that, is get left hand offset. Now what this will do, it is a extra step in the code, but what it'll do is you have your location, rotation, and scale. Actually thinking rotation might need to be different for left hand. No, it shouldn't need to be different. So if you run into a situation where the item's rotation needs to be handled differently from left hand to right hand, you would want to use a second, go back here, you'd want to change this from being a vector to just being another F transform, so you would have right hand offsets, left hand offsets, and you could just make a single function, like you pass in a boolean left hand or B right hand, whatever it would be. For now I'm going to leave it like this because I believe everything I'm going to be doing, the left hand just needs a different set of location information. But now if we go back here, just quickly look through this, you can see we're passing in the item, we've got a boolean for if it's left hand, right hand. We have our logging, we're initializing that item, and you see I've put a little note in here that is to change this function to be a boolean return. The reason being for that is if we go into our initialize here, you can see right here we actually have a use case that drops out of this before anything else is done. And if this, for some reason, it should never be hit. The way things are done, we're validating before we get there, but you want to add that just in case, because otherwise you can end up in some pretty weird situations. So because this doesn't actually return a bool, it's just a void, this could happen. And then we're going to go through and you could hit here. This'll, depending, this could potentially go through and set right hand as a null pointer, and then you're going to get exceptions on these two. So what I want to do, as I mentioned there, is change this to a boolean. So we're going to go to declaration. We're going to change this to a bool. And then go here to this. We change this to a bool. and then we go return false, and right at the very bottom we just go return true. And as I mentioned again, the whole reason for this is we have this one case where we're dropping out as a result of a failure. And this is on me. I should have mentioned this and caught this at the start. But again, this is something you'll find as you're writing code. You don't think of every possible situation as you're writing it. So sometimes you need to make some adjustments and change things on the fly as you go. So now that we've set that to a bool, we want to make a minor change here. And this is going to be if not initialized. We want an escape case here. So copy that. Unable to initialize item, because this may not be an item weapon, so this could be an item. This is for things like I mentioned, the glass jar you could put in your hand, things like that. So now that we've got that done, everything here should be working. Let's say there is this one extra line of code. If you want to, as I mentioned, in your own code base, you could set this to get mesh offset, have a Boolean value to dictate whether it's the left or right, or an enum, or an integer if you have like 4 hands, things like that, as I mentioned in the other episode. So what I'm going to do though, I'm going to run a quick build on this. I will be back once we are in the editor, and we'll just go through and see how this is working. Alright, so we are back in the editor here. It's being a little unresponsive. I'm not quite sure what's going on. But let's give things a quick test here. First thing we're going to do though, we're going to look at our player character and the weapon information, because I did set a few things up there. Player character I haven't done anything with. I just want to recap what I've done for the spawning logic. So in here, literally, you can see when 4 is pressed, equipped weapon, we're passing in a templated one for now, and we're saying it's for the right hand. So that's easy enough. Now if we go take a look at that weapon, and just browse to and open that up, you can see in here I've gone through and I did set some initial values for the default location. There's no rotation information. Scale is 1. We are just using location offset, which was -10, 5, and -15. So if we hop into the actual editor and we run play, okay, we're going to spawn in. So if we hit 4, we're going to hit this information here. I'm just going to continue through this because this should all work fine. And you can see down there when we look down, we have a bat in our hand. And if we hit F8 to eject quickly, you can look over, you can see it's roughly placed in the hand. Needs a little bit of fine tuning, but you do that once you get your animation set up, which is the next thing we're going to do. So we're going to stop here, and I'm just going to quickly copy over these down here. So it's -10, 5, -10, 5, and -15. And we're going to leave that as is. Let's do a quick compile here, go to this, and we're going to uncheck right hand. Compile and save. All right, and drop it out, we'll move that out of the way. We hit play, we hit F, well, I'm going to look up so you don't see it, hit F4. Now you're going to see here, I'm going to step through some of this. Excuse me. B right hand should be false, so we fall through down here. All right, all of that went through. Click play, and if we look down, well, there you go. Rotation information. So this is, I stand corrected in my own previous comment. The rotation information is wrong. So we need to adjust for that, which means we're going to want to make that left hand into a transform instead of a vector. But the other thing you can see is the normal spawn point is here. But with all that information and the variations we did, it's actually moved it up into the arm. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop Everything is saved, but we're going to just do save all, file, save all, just to make sure. We're going to close out of the editor. All right, so with that, we're going to make those modifications I said you might want to do because, well, we want to do them. So equip item base, we're going to go down here. We can get rid of get left hand offset. And we're going to add in a const bool be left hand for get mesh offset. And actually, I'm going to even give that a default value of false. Don't need to add that in there. Go into our header. Wait for this to... No, it's not going to throw. Const bool be left hand. And we're going to go be left hand. Okay, we're going to need to come back and fix this, and then go to our weapon item, get mesh offsets. We're going to do the same thing in here. We're going to go const bool be left hand equals false. Return be left hand question mark. Oh, missed the M. I'm going to change this from left hand offset location to left hand offset. And then all we do here is, if it is the left hand, we want it to return left hand offset. Otherwise, return mesh offset. We can get rid of this function here. We don't need it anymore. Go back in here. This should... oh, we don't even need... I don't know why I'm doing a complex equation there. We just do that. I shouldn't say complex equation, the selector there. All right, so now that we've got that, we do build, and same thing, build, hop into the editor, and we're going to look at adjusting that left-hand setup just so we have everything correct there. All right, so we did actually have a build error in there, and that is because I never fixed our code in the character. So all we have to do here is add in a true for the input on the get mesh offset. So with that, we'll do another build, and I should hopefully be back when we are in the editor this time. All right, so we are back in the editor here. So first things first, we're going to launch into the editor. We're going to hit 4 to spawn that hammer. F8 to jump out. We're going to see... Did it not spawn? Did I not hit 4? Yeah, there we go. I'll get rid of that breakpoint. We don't need it. So now we're going to hit F8 to jump out. And you can see the bat is inverted, as in it's upside down, going backwards, and it's in the wrong place. So first things first, we're going to rotate it. We'll fix these values once we go into the details stuff in the details panel. And you'll notice, like I said, with the animations, the hand isn't correctly holding the bat, so it's not a problem. That is something we'll be dealing with later on once I figure out animations a little better. So we want the bat to be about there. So let's clean these up. So we're going to go 8, minus 6, and 20 for the Z location. And looks like we need to move it a little further this way. So we're going to go minus 8. Nope, we want to go the other way. So minus 4. 2, 4, minus 5. Minus 5.5. So that's what a lot of this is it's guessing, getting it just right. We'll clean these up. So 180, 0, and 180. Not 480. Actually, what do we do? 0. Yeah, we'll do 0 there as well. We're going to leave the scale. It's appropriate for this character. Now all we need to do is right click on the transform section at the top, copy all properties in this category. What that's doing is that's just like copy and pasting this information here. So the mobility, location, rotation, scale into your clipboard. Now that we've done that, we're going to stop plane editor. We're going to open up our weapon, bring that over, and you can see mesh offset and left hand offset. We just paste. You're not wanting to do that now? Okay, so it wasn't doing what I wanted. Great, so I think this is 5.5, 20, and I think -8, and then this was 180 degrees. So compile and save. I'm going to move that off to one side. I'm going to play and spawn it in. 8 to drop out. Nope, these were way off. So with that information, we know, well, roughly, and this is where it gets problematic. Because you're dealing with weird angles and floating point values and stuff. So we're about there. So 5. Okay, so it was 5 minus 5, 20. Okay, that was it. So we're going to drop out. So 5 minus 5.5, 20. Okay, compile and save. We'll just make sure that's good. And I'm not going to keep bouncing back and forth on this. I just want to get a rough placement for this. So there you go. You can see it's roughly in the right place now. Okay, so we've done that. Now, because we have modified the logic around a right hand equipped, you're also going to want to test that. So we're going to hop into our third person blueprint here. I'll open up my other monitor. So we'll bring that over, and here all we have to do for this is change that to right hand. Spawn that in, hit F8 to bounce out, and everything's still good there. Now, I didn't expect there to be any problems with this, simply because it's like we didn't change the code here. We just changed, let me pull up that code. It was this. Though we didn't make any changes to that functionality, we added in code to use different data. You still want to test it, simply because it could change. Something in there might be different. You might have, let's go to definition, just to bounce through. You may have accidentally put these in backwards or something like that. So you don't want to just instantly assume the code that worked before continues to work because you've done some code, like even though you've not changed the specific code, you've changed stuff in that area. So now this is where I'm actually going to end off this episode, because I do need to do some little digging, a little bit of digging and further investigation, but I'll run through a few things here. So one of the things that is currently trying to think how to describe this, confusing me, and I'm not quite sure how to do it, is idle animations. Right in here we do have animation sequences for like a primary action or secondary action, which ultimately I don't think need to be here. I think I got overzealous when I added these in, because we have everything is being done in a blueprint. And if we go back to, let me open it up, our weapon blueprint, where is it? Right here. Pull you over, open full blueprint editor. We have two overrideable, oh, we're still playing, won't let me do anything. Two override functions, our primary action and our secondary action, which is what we need to define how they're going to do that. And I don't think we need these specific, oh, actually we didn't test has melee collision. Let me just check something here. I'm going to run spawn in. Okay, nothing broke there. Anyway, so drop out. I don't think we need to, actually no, it would probably be worth having those primary action, secondary action animations, because we can just use those as part of the blueprint. But idle animation. So that would be, let me actually get back into the editor here, spawn in, F8. So that would be the animation that would be like holding the bat or changing the player's idle animations, things like that. Because if they're holding a two-handed weapon, like let's say a pool cue in two hands, they're going to have a slightly different stance to the normal idle. So one of the things I need to figure out is how I want to do that. I know you could do it with bone blending and things like that. I don't know how to do that myself, so it is going to take me a bit of time to dig into some of the animation stuff. And for anyone wondering, when I do these off-camera learning exercises, for lack of a better term, I don't go into a huge amount of detail. I don't spend hours and hours and hours. What I do is I go through and get the basic gist of it, so that then I can do like the more trial and error learning on camera, so everyone else can see that as well. So, but like I said, this is actually where I'm going to end off this episode. It is pretty much the last episode for the physical equipment spawning. Next thing, as I mentioned, we're going to be working on the idle animations and the, or depending on how long that idle animation stuff takes me to figure out, it's going to be the primary and secondary actions. So with that though, folks, as always, thanks for watching. If you do have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Or you can hop over onto the Discord and ask your questions there. I do try to respond to either YouTube comments, Discord questions as quickly as I can. But as always, folks, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.